Hello and welcome once more to another exciting episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. Once more with the one and only Cave Cat. Today, episode 36 is once more slightly different from all my other reviews, as I'll be reviewing an entire anthology series, as opposed to when I reviewed Scruffy, a single episode of the ABC Weekend Special, for episode 7 of the series. As you can tell, I'll be reviewing CBS Storybreak. What's CBS Storybreak, you ask? Well, it's an anthology series that was produced by CBS themselves, almost like with the 1980s Garbage Pail Kids cartoon, produced and released in 1985 until ending in 1989. The series is supposed to be CBS's answer to the ABC Weekend Special, which of course was airing on ABC at the time, even being similar in style and format to the ABC Weekend Special. Being that both shows focused on showing adaptations of children's chapter books that had been published in previous years. However, while both the ABC Weekend Special and CBS Storybreak do focus on adapting children's books for television, the latter actually has several differences from that of the former. First of all, the ABC Weekend Special isn't limited to airing animated adaptations of books, also airing live-action adaptations as well, while CBS Storybreak exclusively aired animated adaptations of books. Second, a lot of the episodes that were shown on the ABC Weekend Special aired in multi-parters, whether they were two-parters or even three-parters, but CBS Storybreak aired the episodes in a single part, even at the cost of cutting out some of or a lot of the pivotal parts of the story. And lastly, unlike the ABC Weekend Special, which depended on different animation studios, ranging from Hanna-Barbera, Ruby Spears, Deke Entertainment, or even Marvel Productions, CBS Storybreak was exclusively produced in association with Hanna-Barbera's Australian division, formerly known as Southern Star Productions. But despite the differences from one another, both shows still focused on airing adaptations of children's literature to encourage children to become interested in reading books. So anyway, CBS Storybreak was hosted by the late Bob Keeshan, aka Captain Kangaroo, in its original run. After the show ended its run, it began airing in reruns in 1993, where this time Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played the older son on The Cosby Show and voiced the male producer in The Magic School Bus, served as the replacement host to Bob Keeshan. I actually remember watching the version of CBS Storybreak that had Malcolm Jamal Warner hosting when I saw the show on TV years ago. And of course, I remember that our public library also had quite a few VHS tapes of the show, when select episodes of the show were released on VHS under the title Video Storybreak, in conjunction with Fox Video and Playhouse Video. Those releases retained the live-action wraparounds with Bob Keeshan as the host, in contrast to the re-airings that had the wraparounds featuring Malcolm Jamal Warner. I'd have to say that after watching those VHS releases, as well as original recordings of the show that were uploaded to YouTube, I actually preferred the wraparounds with Bob Keeshan as opposed to the ones with Malcolm Jamal Warner, even if I did watch the Malcolm Jamal Warner version on TV as a kid. But anyway, as for my thoughts on the show, I actually enjoyed it, and I still do enjoy it since I'll occasionally watch some episodes of it on YouTube, just for the memories. As explained before, this show actually adapted children's books that were pretty popular at the time, ranging from Chocolate Fever, Ye Shin, A Cinderella Story from China, Hank the Cowdog, and even How to Eat Fried Worms. In fact, another episode that really stuck with me the most was when they did an adaptation of Thatcher Hurd's Mama Don't Allow, which I remember was also featured in an episode of Reading Rainbow and narrated by Fred Newman. Other episodes I remember watching were Arnold of the Ducks, Klutz, Hugh Pine, Jeffrey's Ghost, and several others. Not only did they adapt books that were focused on slice-of-life adventures or animals, but they also did adaptations of sci-fi and fantasy stories, like Grinny and The Double Disappearance of Walter Fosbeck. It's amazing the way that CBS Storybreak went all out to adapt these kinds of stories. Yeah, granted, the ABC Weekend Special did also adapt some fantasy stories as well, but never did they adapt a sci-fi story, live-action or animated, with the possible exception of that of the amazing Bungie venture and its sequel, The Return of the Bungie. But with CBS Storybreak, at least they were able to adapt some sci-fi stories, even adapting Bruce Colville's The Monster's Ring, of all things, which is supposed to be a horror story. And this even preceded Nelvana's Tales from the Crypt Keeper by nearly 10 years. Also, another thing to note about this series is that when the show re-aired on TV in 1993, as I mentioned before, they actually added open captions as opposed to when it had closed captioning during its original run. For those who don't know, closed captioning is when those who can't hear very good can just simply turn on the captions on the TV so that they can be able to read what the characters on TV are saying. A lot of shows produced throughout the years and aired on TV had closed captioning, but I don't remember if that practice is still being used today or not. Moving on, CBS Storybreak was among a few of the shows that had open captions when it was re-aired on TV. And another show that I can think of that also used that practice was Bobby's World sometime in the late 1990s. But whether or not a show has closed captioning or open captions, a lot of people could still enjoy the show with or without captions. And as for the show, from what I recall, this is actually the last time that any network has ever created an animated anthology series, up until CBS made Mythic Warriors for their CBS Kids Show block in 1998, which retold various Greek myths. But after that, no more animated anthology series were ever made, which is kind of a shame. Despite this, while a lot of the stories that CBS Storybreak adapted weren't as good as the original books that they were adapted from, since some things were either omitted or changed around, it's still a pretty enjoyable show that does its best to encourage children to be interested in reading. So I think it's safe to say that I will give CBS Storybreak 8.5 stars. Ta-da! Animated anthology series may have become a thing of the past, but from what I recall, there's still some live-action anthology series, like when they remade The Twilight Zone back in 2019 and was hosted by Jordan Peele of Key and Peele. But from what I heard, that version is not as good as the original 1959 version or even the 1985 version. But in the case of animated anthology series, they did make the What a Cartoon Show, which showed various short pilots for potential animated series to be picked to air on Cartoon Network, and there was also its rival series Oh Yeah Cartoons, which aired on Nickelodeon. However, when those shows ended, that was it for animated anthologies. The networks really need to bring back animated anthologies to really get kids invested in seeing what new characters and adventures come their way on the next episode. But anyway, that about wraps up this episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. Once more, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more episodes or whatever video that I might come up with next. So until next time, later!